Hello friends, it's me, and today, who is the worst Joker? Let's check out film theory. What if every Joker was charged for their crimes from the film theorist? Together, let's go. Let's start.
Who is the worst Joker? Okay, yeah, we all know it was Jared Leto, but I mean...
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Which one of the Jokers is the worst criminal? If we tally up the crimes they commit, which one of them is actually the clown prince of crime and which one is just a big old joke? Well, loyal theorists, today we put all of the Jokers on trial, and the most terrifying monster in Gotham isn't who you expect.
Film theory.
Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's always in on the joke. So as much as I do love Marvel,
Hello Internet, welcome to Film theory.
I always grew up a DC kid. Justice League, Static Shock, Batman the Animated Series, it all just hit so right. That's why I've been so heartbroken that their movie slate over the last decade has been so hit and so miss. One of the slam dunks they had though? Joker, a solo movie about the origins of Batman's greatest foe, set in its own world unaffected by the DCEU. This movie was a shocking success that nobody saw coming, showing us a gritty, down-to-earth take on this character that felt more like a Nolan movie than whatever the hell this was.
I'm just gonna hurt you. Really bad.
And now, they're making a sequel, Joker Folie à Deux. Bold choice, and, well, it doesn't seem to be working out for them if box office tracking holds true for this one.
Yeah, let's be honest with each other, it's not good. They could have easily just went with a simpler approach, Joker 2.
That's a Fall Out Boy album. Not sure I'd brand my big budget movie with a name most of your target audience won't even know how to pronounce. Here, let me fix your branding problem real quick. Joker 2. Much cleaner, much simpler, much more to the point. So, in Joker 2, Arthur Fleck is being put on trial for his crimes in the previous movie, and naturally that made me wonder, what sort of prison sentence would this guy be looking at? He had murders and thievery and rioting to his name, so surely he'd be looking at some pretty substantial time, right? Well, that then made me think, would he be the worst Joker? If we looked at all of the crimes that the Jokers of cinema and television have committed over the years, who would come out as the real clown prince of crime? And on the other side of the coin, who would end up just being the butt of the joke? That's what we're gonna find out today, loyal theorists. Break out your clown makeup, it's time to see who has the last laugh. So, a few things going into this to set some ground rules. First of all, we're only going to be talking about the live-action Jokers. There are a lot of them, as you can see by the runtime of this video, and if we included the animated Jokers, we'd be here for like a billion years. Secondly, let's talk about how we're going to be judging the worst criminal. See, each state in the US has different laws with different penalties depending on where you commit the crime. Unfortunately, Gotham is a fictional city, so we're gonna have to make some decisions about what judicial system we use here. Where Gotham actually is has changed over the decades in different adaptations and reboots of the DCU, but for our purposes today, we're gonna say that Gotham is a stand-in for New York City. We've done this in the past by comparing its skyscrapers to the New York City skyline, and due to the fact that Gotham is literally a nickname for the Big Apple. Because of that, we'll be using the justice system from New York in our judgment for the various Jokers today, but you'll see that in the end it doesn't actually make that much of a difference. Thirdly, criminal offenses are broken into three main categories in the United States: violations, misdemeanors, and felonies. A violation is the least serious. Think like parking illegally or speeding, stuff you get a ticket for, but nothing huge. Misdemeanors are more serious, but typically don't put people in harm's way. Think like trespassing or evading arrest. Finally, there are felonies, which are the most serious and usually involve violence or serious theft. Think like murder, assault, burglary, that sort of thing. Within all of these, they are also classified from Class A to Class E, A being the most serious and carrying the harshest punishments. We're going to be counting up every crime these Jokers commit and categorizing them the best we can into this system, punishing them to the fullest extent of the law, and then seeing which Joker carries the most prison time and largest fine to determine our rankings. Cool? Cool. So,
alright, so let's get ready. This episode is gonna be quite dark. I'm sorry.
the best place to start here is to talk about the most recent Joker.
Almost our anniversary, isn't it?
This Joker is played by Barry Keoghan in The Batman, but we don't actually know a ton about this guy and his crimes from the movie. However, thanks to behind-the-scenes info, we do know that he is at least a serial killer, which is why Batman was so interested in his help tracking down the Riddler.
He's a serial killer. I want to respect it.
A serial killer is defined by having 3 or more deaths to their name, and since we can't definitively say how many kills Barry Joker has under his belt, we're just gonna keep that at 3. So, okay, what's the criminal punishment for murder then? Well, it depends on the type of murder, because not all homicides are created equal in the eyes of the law. And the things you have to clarify for this job. In New York, murder is broken down into 3 categories: first degree, second degree, and third degree. First degree murder is a killing that is done alongside a serious felony like kidnapping or burglary. So if you break into someone's house with the intent to kill them, that's first degree murder. Second degree means the intentional killing of someone without any other crimes. So if you get into a fight with someone on the street and you kill them as a result, that's second degree murder. Finally, there's third degree, which is the unintentional killing of someone while doing another serious crime. So if someone is killed during a bank robbery, but you didn't mean to, that's third degree murder. Both first and second degree murder are considered Class A1 felonies in New York, making them the most serious type of crime and can carry life sentences, while third degree is a less serious offense. Considering that he's basically locked up for life, Barry Joker's 3+ killings are most likely first degree murders, so put him on the board with at least 3 life sentences. Not a bad start, but what else do we got? Well, let's take a look at 2019's Joker, with the title character being played by Joaquin Phoenix.
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
Oh, and just to be clear, this script was written before Joker Folie à Deux came out, so we're only going to be taking the first movie into account. This was a very grounded and realistic look at the character's origins.
Alright, from what I know, they originally wanted this to be like a one and done. It's like one movie, good job, case closed, thank you all so much. But when it suddenly became a successful movie, the directors, the actors wanted to be like, bum bum, it's a good work, finish, full stop. But money.
Because of that, Joaquin Joker's list of crimes also isn't that extensive. Throughout the film, we see Joaquin Joker stalking his neighbor, breaking into her apartment, trespassing on the grounds of Wayne Manor, and stealing his mother's medical file. Mostly misdemeanors and relatively light felonies when you take everything else that's going to be in this video into account. Not exactly a criminal mastermind, but this would still be a lengthy rap sheet for an average Joe. Really, the biggest thing here that Joaquin Joker would need to look out for is violating HIPAA laws, but of course, this isn't where his list of crimes stops. Early on in the film, Joaquin Joker is assaulted by a trio of Wall Street goons, who he ends up shooting and killing during the fight. Now, you might argue that Joaquin Joker shouldn't face any punishment for this because it clearly started as self-defense. These guys picked this fight, so he had the right to fight back to defend himself. But here's the thing. In New York, self-defense laws are governed by something called proportional response. Basically, this means that you can only legally protect yourself with force that makes sense for the situation. So, if 3 guys are beating you up, you are more than within your rights to throw punches and kicks back. But Joaquin Joker doesn't stop there. Instead, he pulls out a gun and kills all 3. Even then, there is an argument that Joaquin Joker killed the first 2 in self-defense. He was on the ground getting kicked in the head, and that's basically a life or death situation. But there's no defense for the killing of this third guy.
To the people who are saying that, it just kicks to the head. Seriously? Kicks to the heads. Do you know what is brain damage? Do you know what is CTE? Do you know what is, these are permanent. People even die from this.
He straight up chases him down and kills him in cold blood. That's way out of proportion for this situation at this point, and would absolutely be a case of second-degree murder. And of course, we know that this is only the beginning of Joaquin Joker's murder spree. Taking the rest of the movie at face value and assuming that none of it happens in Joker's head, he goes on to smother his mother, shoot Murray Franklin on live TV, and kill his psychiatrist at the end of the movie. All additional cases of second-degree murder. Finally, there's one last crime I think is a bit unique to this iteration of the Joker, inciting the riot at the end of the film. Joaquin Joker gives a big speech on public television that in turn starts a riot that consumes Gotham.
Yeah, the whole city's on fire because of what you did.
But, surprisingly, this isn't as serious a crime as you might expect. Yeah, according to New York law, inciting a riot is just a Class A misdemeanor. So, by the end of things, Joaquin Joker ends up with 127 years in prison and roughly $105,250 in fines. You know, that's not as bad as I expected, to be honest. I think we actually have to put this Joker below Barry, since he doesn't have any first-degree murders or life sentences to his name. Though I'll concede that that might be a bit arguable. And either way, I promise it won't matter that much because things get much, much worse from here. Speaking of much—
Okay, I'm gonna guess, okay? The worst Joker is the most memorable Joker. The Joker that, the Dark Knight, the one.
much worse, let's talk about everyone's most least favorite Joker, Jared Leto. This was the Joker from the DC Extended Universe, but despite being part of a big franchise, he didn't actually appear in all that much. He was just in Suicide Squad and like one scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Regardless, we know a lot more about the crimes he was involved with. Like, a lot. Justice League implies that he killed Robin, and in Suicide Squad we see him kill fellow gangster Monster T for disrespecting Harley Quinn, lead a breakout at Arkham Asylum, break into a government base, attack several soldiers while trying to rescue Harley, and then break Harley out of prison at the end of the movie. And during that crime spree, we see about 30 people die at the hands of Jared Joker. Even if he didn't pull the trigger on those murders himself, as the ringleader here, Jared Joker is still liable for their deaths. We also see him driving recklessly, lead at least 2 kidnappings, at least 1 assault, the theft of the helicopter to rescue Harley, and the manslaughter of his own men when they're killed during the escape. Plus, he straight up tortures Harley and coerces her to jump into a pool of freaking acid to prove her loyalty, the latter of which would almost certainly be considered promoting an unaliving attempt. All in all, this nets Jared Leto a full set of felonies from Class A to E, plus at least 1 misdemeanor. Man, this is like the worst trading card game ever. Felonies. Gotta catch them all. By the end of it, just from what we
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
see in these movies, Jared Joker would end up with $262,125 in fines, 313 years and 3 months of prison time, plus 26 life sentences. Or you could just make him sit through 1 viewing of Suicide Squad. I'm not sure which would be worse there. Regardless, between Jared, Joaquin, and Barry, Jared's winning out no competition and takes the top spot in our rankings so far. Now, let's take a little bit of a sidetrack to Gotham. Not the city, but the TV series. This one's a bit of a weird case because the Joker here, played by Cameron Monaghan, is actually 2 characters, twins Jerome and Jeremiah Valeska. Oh, and also they never call him the Joker because DC didn't want to, quote, confuse audiences, which itself is confusing. That's such a weird choice.
Oh, it's very funny.
So, because Gotham was a TV series and had more screen time for its characters, this pair of Cameron Jokers had more opportunity to commit on-screen offenses, giving them a huge advantage over all of our previous Jokers who appeared in 2 movies at most. Because of this, between the pair, Cameron Joker racked up dozens of charges of murder, kidnapping, assault, burglary, you name it. They hold a lot of people hostage since the show likely didn't have the budget to kill a ton of extras on screen. And both Cameron Jokers are also the first of our episode to get terrorism charges, which is an actual crime here in the United States and is considered a Class A felony. Yeah, it's not just a word that we throw around a lot, it's an actual crime. By the time the show wrapped up, between the 2 of them, they racked up over 100 Class A felonies and dozens of less serious offenses, including over 350 Class E felonies. Because of this, Cameron Joker 1 would be dealing with 3,274 years plus 35 life sentences behind bars and just over $4.6 million in fines, while his twin would have a sentence of 615 years plus 30 life sentences and $786,000 in fines, putting both of them comfortably at the top of our rankings at number 1 and number 2. Impressive to be sure, but can they stand up against what's perhaps the most famous portrayal of the Joker? The character from The Dark Knight, played
It's quite famous.
by Heath Ledger.
Why so serious?
Now, this Joker is one of the greatest characters in cinema, and even though he only appeared in just a single film, the list of crimes we see him commit is somehow way longer than all of the other characters we've talked about so far combined. He pulls off a bank robbery and kills all of his accomplices, attempts multiple murders, commits multiple murders, kidnaps multiple hostages, throws Rachel off a building, blows up a hospital, assassinates a judge and police commissioner, attempts to assassinate Gotham Mayor Garcia, attacks the Gotham police station, breaks out of jail, steals a cop car, owns and fires a rocket launcher, gets real creative with pencils.
How about a magic trick?
It's gone. Honestly, I could be here all day listing out the exact crimes, but none of us want that. So instead, here's
And do know that, if I'm not wrong, it's just 1 single movie.
just a big list of everything I saw on screen and how serious they were. But the thing that really sets Heath Joker apart, and what I wanted to focus on here, when he basically takes 2 entire ferries hostage. Towards the end of the movie, the Joker and his henchmen plant explosives on 2 ferries, one full of civilians and the other full of prisoners. He tells them that they each have the detonator for the other boat, and if one of them doesn't blow up the other ferry, Heath Joker will blow up both. Not only would this be another act of terrorism, but Heath here would be liable for the wrongful imprisonment and attempted attempted murder of every single person on these boats, Class E and B felonies respectively. Now, we don't know exactly how many people are on each vessel, but looking at New York City ferries, most typically hold between 150 and 350 passengers. However, there are some larger boats that can hold around 500, reserved for specific circumstances. Considering the attempted evacuation here, we're gonna say that each of these is one of the larger ferries and that they're packed with another 50 occupants because of the emergency. And this is backed up by one of the vote tallies we hear on one of the ferries.
Tally is 140 against, 396 for.
That means that Heath Joker here would be given an additional 1,100 charges of both unlawful imprisonment and attempted murder. When you tally it all up, that means that Heath Joker's crimes would earn over 3,279 years and 3 months in prison, plus 1,155 life sentences and fines upwards of $6.12 million. And all from just one movie. Wow. Even without
one movie. I was right.
all of the life sentences, he just edges out Cameron Joker 1 and makes it to number 1 in our rankings so far. But is he the king of all Jokers? Next up, we have the first true cinematic Joker, Jack Nicholson from the Tim Burton series.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Jack Joker here is an interesting case because he was already a career criminal named Jack Napier before he ever became the Joker. In fact, he was the one who killed Thomas and Martha Wayne, creating Batman in the first place. And because of this, he already has an impressive rap sheet before his descent into insanity, racking up charges of tampering with evidence, shooting cops, evading arrest, and criminal trespassing. But things are really taken up a notch when he falls into acid and becomes the Joker, developing a plan to expose everyone in Gotham to the chemical gas Smilex. This would kill them and leave a creepy rictus grin on their dead body. This would obviously count as murder, but just the plot itself is clearly terrorism. Throughout the film, multiple people are killed with Smilex, the most being at the Flugenheim Museum. Though we only see about 11 people die on screen, there would absolutely have been more present at the gallery, and we can make a good estimate using a real-world analog. The Flugenheim is certainly based off of the Frank Lloyd Wright-designed New York Museum, also known as the Guggenheim. Using the attendance figures for that museum, we can roughly estimate that there are 339 people in the museum when Jack Joker poisons everyone in the building, and that is brutal, and this isn't even the only group of people that he tries to kill in this way. Later on in the film, Jack Joker travels through the streets of Gotham in a parade float with balloons filled with Smilex gas, intending to poison everyone on the streets that he's luring in. Though it's difficult to get an exact count of the number of people here from the wide shots, from what I could see, there's roughly another 500 people in these scenes, meaning that Jack Joker would have another 500 attempted murder charges. Thankfully, Batman thwarts the plan and saves the lives of these people before more than about another 2 or 3 can die. By the end of the movie, Jack Joker has built up an insane rap sheet, including 925 Class A1 felonies, which would result in 13,219 years plus 408 life sentences behind bars and $951,000 in fines. Honestly, there's an argument here that Jack Joker is the worst so far, but I think all of those life sentences gives Heath Joker just the slightest bit of an edge. Still, an impressive showing from Jack here, but no cigar. He lands in second place. And now, you might think that—
acknowledge how awkward is it that the fines and the life sentences and the amount of years in prison doesn't really add up. Yeah, like he doesn't even get $1 million in fines, but he has to serve 408 life sentences. 13,000 years in prison. 13,000 years in prison. 13,000 years. 13,000 years.
this is where our list of Jokers comes to an end, but there is one more. The OG live-action Joker, Cesar Romero from the 60s Batman TV series.
Joker's good. What a kick turn.
Yeah, as you can tell, like everything else in this show, this iteration of the Joker was a bit more comical, but despite the slapstick, he still puts up a respectable rap sheet. Across the series, he assaults and attempts to murder Batman and Robin multiple times and kidnaps people on a regular basis. It's all played for laughs and low-stakes fun, but if he weren't—
Notice that Lee mentioned in the 60s, so half a decade ago.
actual criminal, I think you'll see that his list of crimes is long. Like, long. Overall, he lands at—
What am I saying? Half a century ago. Half a century ago. More than that, actually.
3,023 years in prison, 1 life sentence, plus $2.6 million in fines, putting him at a respectable 4th place in our rankings. Not bad for a version of the character that, like, everybody forgets about, and hilarious that he ends up higher in our rankings than Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix, and Barry Keoghan. That's so funny to me. And now, we have our definitive answer. If all of the Jokers were charged and given prison sentences and fines accordingly, the true clown prince of crime, the one that takes home the crown, is Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. But the craziest thing about this list, as I was rewatching all of these movies, I did notice one criminal that was worse than the Joker, than all of these Jokers, maybe combined. And where is he? Here. Yeah, it's Batman. See, in his attempts to bring justice, Batman breaks the law every single time he goes out onto the streets, and it's not limited to any one incarnation of the character. Battinson causes a huge wreck on the freeway to catch the Penguin, which would almost certainly get him multiple counts of hit and run, manslaughter, and property damage. Batfleck gives no hex anymore and regularly just straight up kills bad guys in his car and in hand-to-hand combat. Bat Keaton murders the Joker and at least one of his henchmen and endangers the public with his escapades. And all of the Bats constantly commit assault, burglary, trespassing, evidence tampering, evading arrest. And Batman knows he's in the wrong here.
We're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals.
Yeah, they're criminals, all right. Except Adam West. He did actually get permission.
Batman and Robin are fully deputized agents of the law.
But the bat that takes the cake here, Christian Bale from the Dark Knight trilogy. Even without taking into account all of his extrajudicial assaults, burglaries, trespassing, evidence tampering, fraud, and frickin' international espionage, there's one scene in the Dark Knight that truly sets him apart. To track down Heath Ledger's Joker, Baleman turns every phone in Gotham City into a listening device. Something so unethical that his ride or die pal Morgan Freeman threatens to resign over it.
Beautiful, unethical, dangerous. This is wrong. I'll help you this one time, but consider this my resignation.
See, this breaks federal wiretapping laws and would be considered a Class E felony with a $5,000 fine and 4 years of prison time for every offense. So, for every single phone that they've listened in on in Gotham, Lucius Fox claims that there are 30 million people in Gotham.
Lying on 30 million people isn't part of my job description.
So, that would earn Baleman 120 million years in prison and a fine of $150 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. At least by the numbers in the eyes of the law, that would make Batman the worst criminal in Gotham. God, maybe he wasn't the hero we deserved after all. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory.
The DC universe is broken. Superman is lost, Black Adam stayed in the red, Cyborg has been silenced, Wonder Woman has vanished into thin air, and the Flash has gotten into so much trouble that DC wishes he'd just run his way into an entirely new timeline. But there's still hope for the future, my friends, and the key to solving all of it? Cartoons.
Well, hope you enjoyed. Subscribe. Thank you. But hey, that's just a theory, a film theory, and cut. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Thank you so much, subscribe.